For all you'll quite often hear the immortal words, keep politics out of football, you just simply can't. One is, of course, a national institution here in the UK where these millionaires with about 4 brain cells between them and absolutely no perception of reality engage in a tribal and often violent contest live on television every week while remaining firmly mired in allegations of corruption at the very top level and wild, seedy, scandalous behaviour at the very bottom. And the other is football. So it's not really any wonder, is it, when someone who's made a success of one decides they'd be really good at the other. Often with hilarious consequences. I'm Adam Cleary, this is 442, and these are 10 footballers who tried to become politicians. Number 10, Andriy Shevchenko. The former Zenit and Arsenal forward. Get it? 4 because of, yeah, you remember, Andriy Shevchenko once had a pop at scoring a political job in Russia. This will come as no surprise to the Gunners amongst you, but in the end, he missed. The former Russian captain also ran for Vladimir Putin's United Russia in the 2007 regional council elections, but withdrew before any votes were cast in order to concentrate on his football. He hung up his boots in 2018, but strangely hasn't re-entered his country political arena since, and I don't know why. Number 9, Roman Pavlyuchenko. Yeah, I'm getting both these out the way first. Not many people could juggle the demands of being a Premier League striker and a politician at the same time, but Pavlyuchenko gave it a damn good try in 2007. 1 year before he joined Tottenham, the Russian marksman actually secured a seat in his hometown of Stavropol for, him again, Vladimir Putin's party. A Russian football commentator once claimed the only reason Pavlyuchenko took to politics was because the international financial crisis affected his wages. And whoever that was, I truly hope wherever they are, they're currently very safe. Weirdly, he only actually retired in 2022 when, and I swear this is true, he got an 8-game ban in the Russian amateur leagues for punching an opponent square in the face, effectively making him their Prescott. Number 8, Lilian Thuram. Alright, so this one's fun. Lilian Thuram has won pretty much everything he's ever been involved in, and that includes a live TV contest with the future French president. In 2005, the then UMP leader Nicolas Sarkozy took on Thuram in a national television debate where he labelled kids from the French ghettos as scum. That's nice. The former right-back replied to the right-winger, see what I've done there, in a typical no-nonsense fashion, simply looking him in the eyes and saying, "I'm no scum." 2 years later, the freshly minted President Sarkozy offered the World Cup winner a role as Minister of Diversity. Thuram politely, but firmly you'd imagine, declined his offer. Number 7, Pele. Sometime between his careers as A, the greatest footballer to ever live, and B, erectile dysfunction spokesperson, Pele once served as Brazil's extraordinary Minister for Sport, as well as, holding positions as a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador and a UN Ambassador for Ecology and the Environment, and wow, I really don't get enough done in a day, do I? He even had a piece of legislation named after him, the Pele Law, as he sought to reduce corruption in Brazilian football. Sadly though, he left his position in 2001 after, I'm always misplacing these notes. Here we go, yes. Being accused of involvement in a corruption scandal himself. Oh well. Number 6, Hakan Sukur. The Bull of the Bosphorus is Turkey's all-time record goalscorer and the world's all-time record best nickname haver. Unsurprisingly, given that in this list, he also turned his hand to politics after retiring, winning a seat in the Turkish parliament in 2011 as a member of the ruling Justice and Development Party. He resigned from there 2.5 years later, but remained an MP as an independent. Sukur then hit the headlines again in 2016 when a warrant was issued for his arrest after he was charged with being a member of an armed terror group. Not just content with that though, he then got himself a separate charge after insulting President Erdogan on Twitter. He currently lives in exile in the United States, where he, and I swear I'm not making this up, drives an Uber. If you happen to find yourself down the pub in the next couple of days and fancy starting a conversation with, do any of you remember Hakan Sukur? Well, guess what? Please let me know how that goes. Number 5, Titi Camara. The former Lyon, Liverpool, and I don't know if this is just me, but after reading those two teams' inevitably West Ham striker, Titi Camara returned to his native Guinea after retiring from football in the mid-2000s. After brief spells as both national technical director and head coach of the national team in 2009, Camara was installed as Guinea's sports minister following the election of President Alpha Condé. And you know what? He actually lasted in the role until 2012 when he was just reshuffled out of the position like any normal politician might be. So, yeah, by the standards of everyone else in this video, it's pretty good going. Number 4, Sol Campbell. Having previously aligned himself with the politics of the Conservative Party in England, which for a man in that particular income bracket certainly checks out, the former England international revealed in 2014 that he was considering running for office. He reasoned that he'd help the party reach a voter base that they didn't usually... Do you know what? I'm not going to touch that. The following year, Campbell put himself forward in the race for the Conservative nomination for Mayor of London, but after campaigning hard in the press, ultimately failed to make the shortlist. As a consolation prize, though, he took over at League 2 Macclesfield Town, and a year down the line in that job, encouraged the taxman to put them out of business for owing him money. And do you know what? Still not making any jokes. Number 3, Andriy Shevchenko. A legend at both Dynamo Kiev and Milan, as well as... he was certainly at Chelsea when he was at Chelsea. Shevchenko has always had at least one finger in the political pie, even when he was banging in goals for a living. Backing the Social Democratic Party of Ukraine in the late 1990s and then endorsing political candidate Viktor Yanukovych, we'll go with that, in 2004, it was therefore no surprise when he threw his own hat into the ring in 2012, immediately joining the Ukraine Forward Party after his retirement. And does that not sound like the best landfill indie band you've never heard of? Sadly, he got less than 2% of the votes, failed to win a seat in Parliament, and settled for coaching the national team instead. It's still public service. Number 2, Romario. One of the greatest strikers of all time and a bona fide Brazilian legend, Romario has gone further than most when it comes to swapping a career in football to one in politics. Standing under the Brazilian Socialist Party banner, the ex-PSV, Barcelona and Flamengo frontman was elected to the Chamber of Deputies in the lower house of Congress in 2010. Astoundingly, he used his position to lobby against Brazil's hosting of the 2014 World Cup, calling it the biggest robbery in the country's history, as well as campaigning tirelessly to have the 11 billion being spent on it instead put into vital community and infrastructure projects. And do you know what? It struck a chord. Shortly after the tournament, Romario was elected to the Brazilian Senate, receiving more votes than any other candidate who has ever stood for representation in Rio de Janeiro. He's still, believe it or not, in office today, so well done him. Number 1, George Weah. In 2005, shortly after the end of the Second Liberian Civil War, the 1995 Ballon d'Or winner George Weah announced his intentions to run for presidency. But popular as he was in his native homeland, the opposition cited him as an inexperienced politician with no education, labelled him a babe in the woods, and even wheeled out Ali Dyer to go on record as what a bad cousin he was. Now, of course, one of those isn't true, but I am required to say that if you are watching Graham Souness, here's a quick hint: it wasn't either of the first two. Weah ultimately lost to the Harvard-educated Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, but in 2014, he beat her son Robert to the Senate of Congress for Democratic Change. Booyah, Ellen! How do you like them apples, which do apparently fall quite far from the tree? This wasn't even the end of it though. Weah had another go at the presidency in 2017, and this time he was successful, making him, at the time of recording anyway, the only world leader to have ever scored against Gillingham in the FA Cup. And that's it, that's the video. Thank you so very much for watching and making it all the way till the end. Somebody's keen. While you're here, please do consider subscribing to the 442 YouTube channel. We've got loads of awesome football content dropping all through the week, as well as an amazing library of documentaries, player interviews and performance guides as well. Until next time though, thank you once again for watching. I do hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.